Hi, and you're probably watching this because you have just downloaded my AgentOS template. Well, thank you very much for doing that. I'm Simon. I'm going to show you how to get onboarded and set up using this template. Now, I've got this purposefully set up wrong at the moment to make the first point that you need to be aware of. When you download this from the marketplace, you may have clicked use these instructions, or you may have just clicked through my website and paid for it. And whichever you did, when you get to the Notion page, if when you click onto this main homepage with these views here, and you see that this is set as your Notion AI instructions page, it's not correct. Now, I think about 200 of you downloaded this before we put in a failsafe to make sure this doesn't happen for everyone else, but let me just show you what I mean. You'll see within my instructions page that it's this page here that you need to set as your instructions. It's this one. And as you can see, this one currently isn't set as that. So what you need to make sure you do as your first step is to follow the onboarding steps in this page. Go through this process and ensure that you've selected this page as your system instructions. Now, I'm going to show you what happens if you don't do that, first of all. If we go to Notion AI with it currently set as the wrong thing, and I go plan the week, for example, I would expect it to start with the productivity coach. But what you'll see is a big red sign has come up saying, hang on a minute, you've kind of set me up. You need actually to set up this page as the instructions. So we've put this guardrail now in if you have recently downloaded it, basically from October. I'm quite proud of that, but this is what you're going to need to do. So the first thing you need to do is change your settings. For everyone, the easiest way to do that is to go up to here, click on Notion AI, and then click on personalize. You can then add the name of your agent in here so that it calls itself like, say, Iman or whatever. And then you've got to change this page. Rather than edit instructions, the best thing to do is click in here, use an existing page, and then write AgentOS master, and you will find the master system instructions. Mine's got BC written on it. Another way to do that, you can click done once it's done. Another way to do that would be simply to go to the page there and click Command L. You could also do that from here, and then go and edit your instructions like that by going personalize, use an existing page, and you can go Command V, paste it in, and you will be sure you've found the right one. This is also a place where you can give it a look and feel if you want to do that. I quite like the Magician at the moment. Click done. We should be ready to go. Now, the next thing I recommend you doing at this point is using Claude, and they've just released Sonnet 4.5. Always use the top one. I personally prefer using this for a lot of my system. It's just better at writing, and it just formats things better. So particularly if you're using the coaches or the writing tools, this is the one to go with. Once you've set that, it should stay set as that. And let's just test it out. Please introduce yourself and your skills. We should now see it report all of its modes. You can see it's thinking through things, which is nice. I can close that up if I don't want to see it think, but it's quite nice to see it do its thing. It's viewed the tone of voice. That's a good sign. And here we go. It's dropped a quote in. This is what I ask it to do. It said, hi, I'm Simon. I have these skills: practical workspace skills, coaching skills, writing skills, and so on and so forth, and all of the modes. So there you go. It's a slightly different answer to the one we built it with because it's this new model, but I quite like it. So that is definitely working. Now, I just want to go and show you some of the other setup steps you now need to take before you continue with this. So go back to your homepage and click on the onboarding page. Now, this page is going to take you through the steps. Now, what I've just shown you is the first ones. You've duplicated it into your private workspace. You have just done the personalization process that we have just talked about and ensured that this is the page it's set to. Next, you're going to need to do these, and that is add your personal context. Now, of course, the AI will look at your entire context if you want it to, but I find it's very useful to do a bit more. So if you scroll down onboarding, this is where this video is going to go, we have this. You can connect as many databases as you like, and doing this in this view is going to allow you to make sure that it uses the right ones. Because, for example, I've got loads of task databases. So when you find this, it will probably look a little more like this with everything listed in red. And all you're going to want to do is delete what's there. And for any database you want to change or reference to as your key database, you can do @mention. And then I'm going to do my tasks database. There it is, BC tasks database. And I've linked it. This is a synced block, so it will be syncing to the master instructions. Now, if I jump to the master instructions, there is the sync block within the main instruction page. And that's what that's doing. It's allowing you quickly to insert all of your key databases. And you'll see in the instructions, if you want to jump into this page, that you're then able to view how it's been set up, learn about how I've written the instructions. But one of the key things is that it needs to use these databases when it is writing or reading from key information. You'll then also see all of the modes and the instructions listed here, and then sub-mode pages, which are all down here, which can be jumped to and checked out. And these are all of the instructions that I've written for the system. So say, for example, if we go to the productivity coach, you can see that it's got its objectives, its coaching moves, its key pillar information, and then all this other information. So yeah, it's kind of epic. And if you want to go and look through it, you can, but really you just need to follow that onboarding guide. And on that note, there are a couple of other elements you might want to do in onboarding. So if we jump back now to the onboarding, the only other things you may want to do is update your style guides and tone of voice of the agent if you want. So if you keep scrolling down and just working through this, you'll be able to see that you can also add content and writing style guides for this, because there is a content and writing sub-agent. Now, if we click here, you'll once again see that this is a synced block and it is syncing into mode 6. If you want to put your own styles and examples of writing for how you write and use the content writer, this is where you should put it. So you'll see here are some examples of my own writing. So it will kind of write loosely to these examples. There's also a repurposing style guide here for social media, which is also in its own synced block. And this shows some more instructions. And down here, you could put in examples of your own Twitter threads, X threads, whatever they're called, Instagram posts, YouTube posts, so on and so forth. You can leave it as it is and it will still function fantastically. It might just write a bit more like me. And then finally down here, you'll see an overview of the modes within this onboarding page, taking you through what it does, where you could quickly jump to them and take a look at what they do. Like this advanced notes and text transformer does a bunch of really cool things, and you'll see it's got all of these transforming items within here. So that's onboarding. If you did want to do the final step, so we've got our modes done and we've read the mode overview, the only other thing to consider now is whether you want to update your tone of voice guide for the agent. You can jump straight to it from here. This is within the master instructions. And this is just how the agent speaks. So if you want your agent to speak a little more like you or differently, or you want to tell it to be more Shakespearean, you can do it within this page and update all of this. Again, it's trained to speak a little like me, or rather a kind of productive version of me. So yeah, that's fun. Okay, I'm just going to talk you through a couple of the other parts of the kind of main dashboard before we demo a couple of the processes. And the first one is to have a little look at these additional guides. This mode guide and good practices is really just a bit of help from me. It will talk you through things you can do with your agent, and I will release more videos over time on this. You can personalize it. We've just talked about that. You can train your agent to take feedback. So if you just type in as some feedback, you can just say feedback, make sure you do this after each interaction. It will actually update its own system notes. So if we look at the main system instructions, down the bottom, you'll see it's got a bunch of memories and live notes that it's created. And these were all created in my interaction with it, because this is my version of the agent. And it also does that within the actual sub modes as well. So if we go into, say, like the content writer and scroll down to the bottom here, there are some live notes. So that's where it will be put. Next, you might want to consider logging your agent's chat history. So with the current Notion AI, you can log history, right? Because currently we can see all of our previous chats. Right, here they all are, previous 7 days, but they're a little bit like tricky to search through, and the agent can't necessarily find information from previous chats. However, if you, for example, were to look at this one, which is repurposing, I could say to it, please log this in your chat history. And we've created a database that will store it. Now, if you watch the agent do this process, so it has reviewed the system instructions and it's saying, would you like me to go ahead and drop it into the database? Go ahead. And here we go. The action is complete and it's dropped it into the chat history database. So if we now click on the chat history database, there is an item. And if we open it, you will see a full transcript of our conversation. So it is remembering what we have done. It's got all of the conversation that it had within it. And it's just a nice way to make sure that you keep it all. And that is housed within the main instructions page. You'll see it if you just scroll down under the system database pages. And that's where you'll also find your tone of voice, your chat history. And there's also a decision log database. Okay, now before I demo how to use the decision coach to show you how that decision log database might work, you'll also find, if we go back to that page, this page, the My Prompts. So if you're unsure of how to prompt or where to start with using this, there are a bunch of examples that we've just created for you. Now, let's have a little test of this example. So let's just paste that in. I'm going to set it to Claude because I prefer that. You do have other options down here. And let's click go. So you'll see it's identifying the correct mode. It's checking style guides. So it's behaving as we want it to. And I would think it would give us a quote and start to answer us. Here we go. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. Nice. Thanks, Theodore Roosevelt. So look, you can see now that it is following my instructions. Now, this is the joy of a personal agent. What it will allow you to do is control the experience. If you ask an agent to help you make a decision with no context and none of these instructions, it'll just go and find frameworks or ask questions, and you could use any kind of amount of information on the internet. This one is using a very specific bit of training I've given it. And it's the same for the productivity coach, the goal setting coach. So I recommend just giving them a go in Claude and seeing how you find them. It wants to check which type we want to do. Well, I'm just going to get it, rather than to have a conversational coaching approach or a more in-depth analysis, I want it to do a really quick decision report. So I can just copy this and drop that in. It'd be interesting to see how much quicker these get, but what is a good sign is when they do take a while, it normally means they are reading instructions and doing the right thing. Let's gather some essential context. Would you like me to search your workspace for existing information about your course planning project? Or do you just want me to do it with what's here? That was an instruction we gave it, and I'll say, sure. All right, so obviously this is really messy, but you would want to think this through, talk about the elements it's asking you, follow its instructions, but I've just written something really simple here, you know. I don't have loads of time, but it's my next big project and my baby, so I want to lead on it, but I want some assistance. I'm not sure how to decide how to approach it. Fine. I can't wait, by the way, until Notion introduce some form of dictation. I don't know if they're going to, but if they could, particularly on the mobile when that comes out, that would make such a difference because this is so much easier when you can talk to it. So it's going to then find a decision framework, the best three. It will offer you them in the longer modes. Otherwise, it will just pick them and then it will give us recommendations. Let's see what it does. So now what it's doing is viewing the decision-making framework guide database that's within your template. Yeah, bet you didn't know that was in there. It searched my workspace because I agreed for it to do it. And it is searching through my emails as well and understanding what I've been doing. I noticed it said Skillshare there, so it's seen that I've made a Skillshare course in the past on this subject. And it's making a decision. So here we go. So this is the quickest version of this. You can have a proper coaching relationship with it. But yeah, it's a good example of how to use this system. And it's recommending a hybrid approach by the looks of it. Let's see what it said. Recommendation. I should own all content creation, core methodology and structure decisions, brand voice and positioning. Course strategist and instructional designer. Nice. Help with the existing knowledge. Ensure you're not missing things. Challenge your thinking. Lovely. And then implementation. It recognizes I use MailerLite. I mean, I think this is really powerful. Now, what's lovely is it's then thinking about next steps. These weeks, budget guidance, VA support, which I have. It's thinking about the the cost of someone to work with it. Yeah, really cool. So what I'm going to say is, this is great. Please log it, and I agree with this decision. Now, what we should see is it will now, as with any mode in this system, transfer to mode 1 to update things. There you go, always handing off to mode 1. Very good. And that is the joy of this system. We've just been in focused, decision maker mode. Now we're in Notion workspace engineer expertise mode, and it's updating, it's referencing the key databases that we've put in. It may even go, do you want me to add some tasks in a minute into our databases? Decision logged, decided, dropped in. Would you like me to create related items? So a project in your projects database, create milestone tasks, and so on and so forth. And then that would take us into the rest of the options for this. And what's great is we could now go and either look at the page or the database. If we jump to the database, you'll see some examples in here, things that are completed and things that are to do. And here it is. If I open that up, it's all dropped in with criteria, risk mitigation, decision, report, all the rest of it. The last thing that we should probably talk about, if we jump back to this example, is how you might add your decision log system into your wider workspace. Down here in this part of the main page, there is the decision log view. And this is just a dashboard view of decisions. So if you wanted to move this, just click up here and click move to, and move it to wherever the rest of your workspace is. Maybe that is a LifeOS template of mine. And if it isn't, maybe check them out, because this thing works brilliantly with my Notion LifeOS templates. All right, so that's that. There's probably one more thing we should talk about, and that is that this is a brand new world. I made this literally a month ago from when I filmed this video. It was an intense sprint of about 3 weeks, lots and lots of work. But it's new, as is Notion Agent, and we're all learning how to use it and how it works. So please, 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 once you get going with this and you test it out, share your feedback. You can click on the feedback box on that homepage and just fill in this with any of your feedback and information. And I would love you as well to jump onto bettercreating.com and check out the other things that are available on there. Maybe that can help you out as well. Make sure you're on the mailing list if you didn't sign up, because I can then send you further updates and other modes that we may add later on. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I will drop more videos for you soon, but yeah, drop me an email, drop us some feedback, make sure you're on the mailing list at bettercreating.com if you haven't signed up. And yeah, enjoy AgentOS. Can't wait to hear how it all goes for you. Bye.